free to help yourself if you need a moment. I do want to stress that some of these sessions can be very emotional. So if you do need to maybe take a moment, regroup, you are more than welcome to step out. Are you ready?
Yes, we're ready. So our first session is called Navigating Insurance and Advocacy, Empowering Families in the Cleft Journey. This is something, obviously, a challenge that many families face. And we know it can be very overwhelming. So let's hear from our panelists today. Welcome them to the stage. We have Tiffiny Tyler, Steph Heinz, Monica Bush, and Jessica Jones, moderated by our own Iva Ballou. Let's give it up for them.
Hello everyone. We are so excited to be here at CleftCon. I'm so excited to be on this lovely panel with all of you. And we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to all of us for good and bad reasons. We're going to be talking about navigating insurance and the importance of advocacy. So we're just going to jump right in. So Tiffiny, I'll start with you first since you're sitting next to me. Okay. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned when trying to navigate insurance for cleft care?
It's hard. I feel like that's probably the most relatable thing. And it takes a lot, and it takes advocacy on parents, and it's a lot of time that you really wish you could be spending doing other things. But just that if you keep working at it, you can typically get the insurance to kind of eventually go your way. Sometimes, this is why ELSA is so important. Like, that's me and my daughter at DC last year, which was so fun. We were both born cleft-affected. So just kind of that if you're not getting the care you want, fight for it.
Absolutely. I think each one of the panelists on this stage and many of us out here can understand that fight that we have to go through for insurance. And so I know Monica, you also, and Jessica, as well as Steph in her own way, all of us were fighting for that. I'm going to kick it to Steph really quickly. Steph, you always talk about, you yourself firsthand did not come up with any insurance struggles, but you have become a leading voice in the cleft advocacy space. How do you use your platform and story to uplift those who are battling coverage, and why is ELSA so important to you?
So I think I first got on TikTok with the whole purpose of spreading cleft awareness, and it wasn't easy to achieve that right away because it wasn't a topic that was on the app, but I figured it out. And then it kind of became a destination for like this, a network, resources, people to swap information, doctor care. But I think that when it comes to, from that, it opened up my eyes and gave me direct contact to more stories and a bigger reason why I needed to fight for this for everyone. And that has been what I've brought up in meetings on Capitol Hill, these stories that everyone else has shared. And it is, for me, in this moment, I'm not a parent. That's my nephew. But I desire to be one day, and cleft wasn't anywhere in my family. And so for myself, if one day I'm blessed with a child and they are cleft affected, I need to be able to look that child in the eye and let them know that I fought every way possible to get them the most optimal care and not have to have any loopholes or something, another variable stand in the way of that. And that's what parents are having to do all the time. And not just parents, we're having to do it as adults as well.
Absolutely.
So.
And Monica and Jessica, you all are both parents of cleft-affected children, and I know that you all are in the fight for ELSA. Can you talk about what your experience has been, whether it be with trying to find treatment or with surgery?
Go ahead first. I was going to say, I think it's very important that everybody reaches out to their representative about ELSA, because the more voices we have sharing individual stories, the better. I know for us, it's been very challenging with insurance. Raise your hand if you feel personally bullied by insurance over the years. It's just something that takes, like Tiffany said, lots and lots of conversation, lots of just keep pushing forward, don't give up. And just to piggyback kind of on what has already been talked about that biggest lesson that you would learn is most insurance companies have it written in their software to deny the first time. And so they have statistics on how many people will keep reaching back out, which is outrageous. It's so stupid. I have lots to say about insurance and people making decisions for you that really have no idea. So that's what ELSA is so important, because people who are understanding what it takes for cleft care are making those decisions and taking it out of somebody who would literally have no idea what an obturator even was, and why it would need to be covered, which is awesome. So yeah, just keep advocating. I know it's hard. It takes a lot of determination, makes for a lot of phone calls, but just keep pushing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing that I would mention too is that it's really important to find your allies, right, in doing that process, because even as someone who's not only a parent of a cleft-affected kid, but also a person who is a consultant for employers that is focusing on healthcare and well-being. I see folks in HR and benefits that want to fight for their employees too, right? So for those of you who have employer-sponsored insurance, like reach out to that benefits manager, that director of benefits, and say, hey, there's this thing that is not going through. And sometimes they can escalate things for you. They can be another person in your corner to fight the insurance companies. Mm-hmm. Another recommendation that I would share as well is that, again, for employer-sponsored insurance, if you check what's on your benefits, you might have an advocacy program, and you can reach out and you have someone else helping write those letters for you, helping move things along. My son had some dental work that was done in November of last year. We're still trying to fight for getting coverage, and using what my employer provides, I am not the only one, writing those letters. There's this very nice person, Kathy, at this vendor that's doing it along with me, and I'm like, oh, I got another email from Kathy. Great, what's going on now? So I would just say, look around to the allies that you have. You shouldn't be alone.
Absolutely. I know growing up, my mother would always tell me, like, no one's going to advocate for you like you advocate for you. And so that's one of the biggest things that I will say as we are trying to push forward with ELSA, and just in dealing with insurance, you do have to speak up. And I know each one of you are doing that in your own way. So if you could tell me whether your experience was smooth or difficult, like what shaped the way that you had advocacy, that you advocate for others and support efforts like the Insurance License Smiles Act. Anyone can jump in on that one.
Wow, that is quite the question.
Let's go back a little bit. Why do you do it? Like, what is if you had to just tell me in one sentence, what is your why?
In one sentence. My daughter and other generations deserve better than the current care we are given.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Steph?
Yeah, I think for me, it's that responsibility that if I were to pass this on, I need to be able to. I also think this is just a basic American right that every parent should have to protect their child, mm-hmm. And I also think to quote Lucy, mm-hmm. She always steps in and reminds me that this is a lifelong journey, mm-hmm. And that's a big myth that we need to dispel. That it's easier for me to advocate for others, so I tend to highlight what happens early on with the baby's journey, yeah. And how scary that must be for a parent, but it is a lifelong thing, and everyone in this room is looking at additional things that are going to be very costly, and it's associated with a craniofacial condition.
Absolutely.
And so for them to think that that we get surgeries at birth and then we're good forever, that is just, it's outlandish.
Absolutely. That's a good point. Yeah, Monica?
Yeah, and literally to piggyback from the opposite side of that, being a parent and being faced with so many unknowns, to be in a space like CleftCon, to be advocating aside people who are fighting for things like Elsa, to learn their journey. And because I only know the pediatric side, Henry will be 13 next week. So I only know what we fought for up to this point. But like Steph said, it really is a lifelong thing, and there are things that we are going to have to take into consideration that we wouldn't have known when he was born. So it's a learning process for everybody, and I think that's why community is so important, and learning ways to advocate and kind of feeding off each other's energy, like, okay, this is my story, what can we do, how can we get involved, and just being transparent and open. And I think that's such a beautiful thing that Elsa does, and Smile Train and CleftCon as well.
Absolutely.
For me, I've always been a big nerd when it comes to the concept of justice and equity. So this is actually a really, appropriate thing to end up being flung into, right?
Right.
Because I feel like when there are situations that come up with my son where something's not covered, it's easy to kind of fall down in the system and go, okay, I'll just pay that $1,000, whatever it is. Oh, it's just, if you're privileged, it's the vacation fund is going to be smaller, right?
Right.
But you realize that's not the case for everybody.
What
and then you say,
vacation fund?
right. But you think about, like, okay, it's not just me, it's not my family, not just my family. I shouldn't just sit down and go, okay. It makes me feel a lot stronger to be able to say, wait, the people coming behind me are
Absolutely.
also going to benefit from this. So, at the local dentist, when they're like, oh, we only file claims with dental, we don't do medical. I was like, I really don't want to have this conversation today, but hey, actually medical covers certain things too if this person is cleft-affected. So let me sit down with you. I actually got brought into the back office to talk to the coordinator and walk them through the reasons why. And even though I felt a little bit embarrassed internally, I was like, hey, this can help someone who's not going to either know or feel comfortable talking about this thing next time. So that's the thing that really has powered me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Real quick, I love that you mentioned the dentist office, because I just had a conversation with our dental hygienist, because she was talking about the teeth that had come in after Henry's bone graft. And she's like, yeah, I don't know if I can talk to the dentist about pulling those. And I'm like, oh, no, honey. No teeth are going to be pulled from this child's mouth. Those teeth are there for a purpose. They might be aesthetically in a place that you don't think that they're okay, but nobody is touching those teeth.
Right.
We will have that conversation. So it is a teaching moment. You're put on the spot where you have to suit up and say, listen, that's not okay. And I know that, Steph, you have shared with about your experience, having your mom speak up for
Yeah.
you. I feel like that's a story that you should share.
Yeah.
Not to put you on the
No,
spot,
it's okay. Well, it's been really impactful for me to be at CleftCon and hear the unfortunate negative experience that a lot of people have had associated with care. And I had a full team. I was super, super blessed. So my doctors made my experience early on very positive, but when we were all talking, there was one incident that I could remember where I was at an orthodontist's office, and he was a perfectionist, and he had a very strong reputation, and he wanted to maintain that. He wanted A++ work, and he started getting frustrated because of my specific case was maybe going to lead that with a different outcome. And he started acting frustrated almost at me, and I was probably, I feel like I was 10 years old, and my mom just said, hey, take a walk with me for a second. And she yanked him and pulled him around the corner, and she didn't think I could hear her, but she was like, look, this is not my kid's fault. I understand that you're frustrated, and I understand that you want to uphold a certain standard, but I need you to not speak to my kid like it's her fault or this is something within her control. And so, like, dust it off, get back in there, and give my daughter better care, or we're gonna make a different choice. But again, that was a choice that she could make.
Right.
And a lot of parents are put in a situation where they have to work with the doctor or the care that they have, which is another reason why ELSA needs to pass, so that you can say, you know what, this experience isn't right for us. And we're gonna go to someone that makes that experience right for us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I can speak a little bit to like the opposite of that. Like, if you're a provider in this room too, like, it's almost just as much your job to make sure that you're advocating for the care that,
Right.
that you give. I had almost an opposite experience from yours, where we went to go meet with my surgeon. I had had what I wanted to be my last surgery. I was happy with the outcome, and I had a family member come with me and my mom, and they started pointing out all the things that were still wrong.
Right.
That like still needed to be fixed. And it will always be in my mind that this doctor looked at that person and was like, I will not perform a surgery that she does not want. If she doesn't want it, it's not going to happen. And so you need to find a different doctor. And so it's like, we are a community of people. We all need to advocate for each other, which is why, like ELSA, it's not just cleft-affected people. It's not just parents or spouses. It's also providers. It's speech and language pathologists. It's, you know, the whole team, because in the end, we are a whole team. It takes all of us to get the community that we want and the people that we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, when it comes to advocacy, and if you think like, oh, I'm just gonna pay this, you know, like if you have that privilege to just like, I'm not gonna get loud, I'm just gonna go with it, I don't wanna make a scene, think twice, because it is such a greater, like such a bigger network. And this is something that it's just standard,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. And so one of my last questions is for each of you. If someone's out there and they're just now getting started on their advocacy journey, or maybe in their insurance battle, what's one parting word of wisdom that you would leave them with? Anyone can go first.
I think for parents, take the pressure off. Like, that was, for me, I think you have the pressure of, well, I want to put him with the best doctors, with the best care. And, you know, you're kind of thrown into it. I remember going to his very first cleft team appointment, like days after he was born. So I'm like still gray from a C-section. And, you know, here I am showing up with this baby, and now we're having to do tape and the obturator. I'm like, what's an obturator? I don't know what that is. You know, so I'm like learning on the job and all these things. And then we found out that his obturator wasn't covered, and it was going to be like $700. And, you know, fighting with the insurance. So you have to find your voice for advocacy very quickly. And you kind of have to fine tune it and realize how far you can push the envelope. But keep your poker face. I feel like that is something, you know, talking to insurance companies, whether it's home or auto or medical, it's frustrating across the board. For medical especially, because you shouldn't have to fight so hard for something that you feel should be basic. You feel, you know, it shouldn't be like this. So, you know, just remember that you can pay a small amount of money on a bill, and there are different hospital systems that are not going to come after you. And, you know, I've been there with the phone calls and the emails, and, oh, by the way, like, you still have to pay on that bill. I'm like, yes, thank you, I know, delete. So, you know, my contribution to my bill is not going to keep the lights on at the hospital or the doctor's office. You don't rely on me for that to happen. So it's a lot of undue pressure that I feel like we put on ourselves, because we want the best care, we want this and that, and, you know, you kind of have to choose, well, am I going to pay off this first, or am I going to get him in for this surgery or this appointment or this specialist, or maybe I need a second opinion. So to take that pressure off and be like, just take a step back. It's going to be okay, and if I can pay a little bit at a time, then so be it. But if it's something that truly isn't covered, speak up, even if your voice shakes. Have that conversation. and just, you got to find the fight inside and use your voice.
Absolutely.
I will totally echo that. Like, take a breath. You might get sent to collections. I actually can't tell you how many times I've been sent to collections
Amen to that.
for care. Yeah, it happens all the time. My daughter had a surgery last year in July, and we had been fighting over a year. They said we owed $7,000, which is not the easiest thing to be like, yeah, I'll just pay that. I've got that. You know, and it was appeals from us, appeals from the doctor's offices, appeals from the hospital, and everywhere, just appeals. And we ended up getting denied every time. And finally, we had to send it to our state insurance review board. And that was the thing that got them to say, no, you actually have to cover this care. And we're waiting and see if that actually happens. But until then, you might have those bills. You might have 5, 6 my chart things, and not to sound like the doom or gloom person, but it's like, take a breath, take that step back and be like, okay, I'm gonna fight in my care, I'm gonna fight for me, I'm gonna fight for my child's care, and you just move forward one step at a time, and like Monica said, pay a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like that's where you can invite people that are outside of the cleft community into what you're dealing with, because you have somebody say, oh my gosh, I have this or that surgery. I'm like, I have my chart. I have like a $600 bill just staring at me every time I open it. And I'm like, swipe up, and it's you just can't be bothered by every single little thing. It will overwhelm you and consume you.
Yeah. Steph or Jessica, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I would say one thing to leave everyone with is awareness, and that's something that we've seen all in this room, and bringing it outside of the cleft community, that's how this will get addressed, and that's how our voices get stronger, is when we loop more people in. And then as far as when you're navigating care, I will say that I used to be someone that would get loud and maybe come off more on the aggressive side. And now that I am in a medical field, I would encourage people to use language that is like, I'm trying to protect, like, in this moment, I am just trying to be a parent and protect my child. Please understand that the things that we are doing today will impact my child for the rest of their life. And if that makes you uncomfortable, imagine what I'm feeling right now as the parent. And make them have language that guilts them into not being able to ignore you.
You can't. Okay. And so, last thing, each of you are a part of our wonderful Cleft Community Advisory Council. And this year, Steph, actually, I think you were the one that really led the charge on this campaign that we decided to do for ELSA. So recently, on July 15th and 16th, we did a 48-hour email campaign where we had everyone. I'm always preaching to the CCAC that they all have their own network that they can reach out to. And we had everyone reach out to their legislators on our Smile Train Advocacy tool. And so we want to give those results because it's really remarkable what we were able to do. So next slide, please. Yes, the results as of 7/17, we sent out over 1,500 letters to representatives, and all of the states that were represented, out of 50 states, we were able to hit 48 states. That is remarkable. So I want to And I want to say that advocacy tool is not closed yet. So if you haven't already sent out your letter, you can feel free to. The more that we make noise and the more that we say that we're not going away, they cannot not pay us any attention. They're going to hear us, and ELSA will be passed. I want to let you know that we're not going to end this discussion right here. We will have discussion groups after the next session so we can continue on this conversation. Our lovely panelists will be there to continue on this talk with you. Thank you so much for everyone, and thank you to my lovely panelists.